Hey, this is Rob Anspach, and welcome back to another edition of E-Heroes. This is episode 244 for those keeping count. And today we're going to talk about leveraging your time as an entrepreneur. I know that my time is valuable, and I do a lot of tasks that probably I shouldn't be doing, but I also enjoy some of those tasks. So I brought on an expert. His name is Ethan Bull, and he wrote this awesome bestseller called The 29-Hour Work Day. So, Ethan, thanks for being here, and it's going to be great.
Hey, Rob, thank you for having me. I will add that I'm co-author. My CEO slash co-founder slash wife, Stephanie Bull, is also author of the 29-Hour Workday.
Yeah, we got to include the wives because
Absolutely.
without them, we don't have a purpose to do what we do.
Exactly. Exactly. 1000%.
So, off air, we were talking about leveraging time. And, I was saying that I get more done in the morning than most people get done all week. That's just because of who I am, what I do, and I've been doing this for years. And it's kind of hard to give that control over to other people. And then when we do give control, we're like, okay, well, they're not doing it fast enough. They're not doing it my way. They're not doing it, whatever excuse we come up with. And it's like, oh, you know what? How do I overcome that?
Well, typical entrepreneurs are type A personalities who a lot of times are micromanagers and want to do things themselves and want it done exactly their way. And that can totally work. We're not here to tell you that it doesn't work because frankly most entrepreneurs are that way. We do see an opportunity sometimes when we take someone like that and we partner them with someone who's actually really good
Mhm.
at creating that know, like, and trust vibe.
Well, then
And
let me add one more thing to that. Know, like, and trust, and feel safe.
I would put that under trust, but yes, absolutely. Feel safe. And you can see sometimes a transformation from a micromanager to a delegator. And when they dip their toe in that water and it's nice and warm and comforting, and they're seeing that things are getting done, they can jump in with both feet. That's really kind of what we try to do as top level executive assistants. I guess in today's day and age, there are so many different options available to entrepreneurs, business owners, C-suite executives that um, you may just get caught up in a support situation that just doesn't work
Hmm.
and isn't aligned with your expectations. So that's what we try and do when I'm talking to a prospect about potentially partnering with us. We really want to make sure that there are clear lines of expectations about what our service is and what it is not. And um, if we are aligned there and we get rolling with a client, it's not unlikely to be with them 3, 4, 5 years. So when it worked great. And when I do talk to a prospect where we're not the right fit, I'm very open about having that conversation and pointing them in a direction towards support that might be better suited for their needs.
So what's the difference? I mean, you have a company called Pro Assisting, and most of us now have being, I guess, inundated with these VA posts through social media every day. Hey, we can help you do this. We can help you do this. Get VAs in Philippines, India, wherever. But I know off air you said you are not a VA service, you are an executive service. And I think there's a lot of confusion out there as to what that actually does or is.
I guess it would start from both mine and Stephanie's experience. We lived in New York City for 20 years, she assisted two different CEOs of hedge funds, as well as the CEO of J. Crew.
Mhm.
I assisted the chairman of USA Films when we were making the movie Traffic by Steven Soderbergh.
Mhm.
I assisted the chief operating officer of Deutsch, which is a $1 billion ad agency, for 13 years. and was director of admin services. And you're really talking about six-figure compensation packages, bonus opportunity, really being that go-to point person who is a business partner, a chief of staff, a project manager, an assistant slash scheduler, and a personal assistant for the principal.
Hmm.
And when Stephanie and I moved out of New York City, we had our second son, and we moved 6 hours north of the city outside of Rochester, New York. And we quickly realized that the term executive assistant means something different, even in a smaller market, than it does in a major metropolitan area. And when a friend of ours reached out to Stephanie and said, "Hey, I have this client. She's a Fortune 100 consultant. She travels the world. She needs great support. She doesn't care where you are, and she doesn't need full time. Are you interested?" That was in 2017. And that kind of pushed us to do a deep dive on the virtual assistant space. And what we found didn't align with us, our experience, or our compensation expectations. And when you look at VA service after VA service after VA service, and they're all run the same way, typically the same kind of business model, we saw a gap
Hmm.
between where those virtual assistant services kind of drop off and where a full-time assistant would pick up. And that's kind of where we've positioned Pro Assisting, and we've based it on our, excuse me, on our experience and our expectations of what the role can be.
Hmm.
And we are priced at the higher end of the remote support space market. But when you compare that to having access, fractional access to an executive assistant who could command $120,000 base salary in New York City, and you're paying $3,000 a month for them to be in and out of your business many times a day, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, after hours and on weekends in atypical situations, or if you're traveling, that's a very good value proposition for a lot of entrepreneurs and high net worth individuals.
Right.
And as we were also saying earlier, and I'll end with this, there are many flavors. And
Hmm.
if you can find that overseas assistant and you pay them $5 an hour and you have them work for you for 30 hours a month, and that pretty much runs your business, kudos. That's fantastic. And we're not denigrating that at all. So we just have a different way of looking at it, and we're serving a different market. And again, we saw that gap and we decided to fill it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've seen ads for $5 an hour, $8 an hour. And then I've also heard stories of executive assistants getting paid 400, $500,000 a year. And I'm thinking, what?
Yeah,
But here's the thing is that executive assistant is probably making their boss millions of dollars a year, commanding all kinds of powers that a normal VA wouldn't get. Um, so you're talking a whole different ballgame.
right. We are. I'll give you an example. Well, two things. One, um, the return on investment on a great executive assistant is time. And so if you have the CEO of a hedge fund and they say, last year I made $200 million, and they say, okay, you divide that by 2,000, the number of hours in a year, or 2,080 to be precise, what's my hourly rate? On $200 million, it's astronomical. So
Mhm.
if you're paying your assistant $300,000 a year and they're saving you 10 hours a month, uh, that's a very compelling return on investment.
Yeah.
As an example, when Stephanie was working for her first hedge fund CEO boss, he bought a piece of property on the coast of Connecticut. He had a meeting with the architects, the town, the project manager, and the general contractor. He brought Stephanie into the room and he said to them, "This is Stephanie. She's my executive assistant. If she tells you to do something or asks you a question, it's coming from me. And if you need to get information from me, you go to her because she is going to know the absolute perfect time for me to answer those questions and be as efficient as possible at getting you the information you need. But if these lines of communication are broken, I'm not going to be happy because my time will be wasted and it will make this process harder. And that project she worked on for 3 years, from working with the architect and the town to get permits and design, all the way up through to ensuring the art on the walls. That was a side project. And he recently just sold that property for $55 million and moved to Florida. It was featured in the Wall Street Journal in a spread of pictures. And that is kind of one aspect of the personal assisting side of the ledger that she handled. So that gives you kind of an idea of what we're talking about.
Mhm. You know, for me, it was always the fact that if I needed to go somewhere, I would drive, but it would take forever. It's
Yeah,
like if I wanted to drive from Pennsylvania to Florida, I know that, okay, with traffic, it's like 20 hours.
right,
I hop on a plane, it's 2 hours,
right.
but the plane's going to cost me a lot more money, but I'm thinking, okay, but there's a time factor in there. I would rather pay to get on the plane, get there, get done, be settled, and now I have almost a whole day that I can do what I want. Isn't that, worth the pay, the money that you're paying?
Well,
But
and plus you're not going to be tired after drive. You're not going to be tired from driving 20 hours. So you get
right,
there and you're just dragging in general. So yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
and and yes, there are people who do that day in and day out because they don't have the money. I get it.
Yep.
I was there once,
Hmm.
but when you get to this certain point, you got to realize that your time is worth so much more than sitting in a car being unproductive.
Absolutely.
And but I think that we as entrepreneurs think that, okay, our time isn't worth that. We can we can just do everything, and it goes back to the whole executive assistant thing. Because it's better to pay someone to let them deal with the minutia, to deal with all the stuff that, and then we can focus on what we really can do best, which is make money.
Well, yeah. And if you're okay with it, I think it might be good to kind of give you an example, a couple examples of maybe some prospects that come and see us if you're open to it.
Sure.
So, what the internet has allowed is a lot of solopreneurs, a lot of people who are out there and they're either coaches or they're public speakers or they're writing books like you or whatnot. And if I am talking to someone like that and they're like, "Oh, I'm just overwhelmed. I'm overwhelmed with invoicing clients. I'm overwhelmed with collections. I'm overwhelmed with all these things. Can your service do that?" And I say, "Yeah, yeah, we can do that."
Mhm.
But I also say, "Well, I really want you to be cognizant of, does this make a financial sense in your business? If you are a solopreneur and you're making $300,000 a year, spending $3,000 a month on our service to have one of our assistants, that's kind of a big lift."
Mhm.
And I would then dig a little further down and say, "Are you we're using an automated invoicing system?" "No, I'm not." "Oh, really? Okay. Well, we can talk about potentially setting you up with an automated invoicing system." "Are you using, in terms of collecting payments, are you using an ACH transfer or are you automatically charging credit cards?" "No, I'm not. I'm getting checks in the mail and I have to sign them and I have to go into my spreadsheet and mark them down and all of this." And like, well, we can solve that too. And you don't need an assistant. And you get to just, if you systematize a lot of the things that you're doing from a solopreneur perspective, um, I don't think there's a need.
Right.
Contrast that with the person who is, running a business that's doing a million plus a year and is making 40% profit margin, and they have 8, 10, 12 employees, and they want to focus more on sales and strategy and marketing instead of operations and accounting and logistics, well, then we are a perfect fit,
Mhm.
because for $3,000 a month, your schedule is going to be taken care of. Everybody in the company is going to go to your assistant as opposed to you, because they know they're going to get an answer faster. You're
Mhm.
going to have someone who handles onboarding for any new person you bring in. And the list goes on and on and on. And it goes back to what I said earlier, is that there's a lot of different options
Mhm.
to, one, handle monotonous tasks that are bogging you down, have to get done, but don't necessarily have to be done by you. And then there are a lot of options for assistant support. So that's kind of just some of the conversations I have. And whenever I talk to a prospects, it's not about you need to use pro assisting. It's
Mhm.
about what's right for you and your business, because it is better for us to make sure we're going into a new client relationship with a long-term prospect, with
Mhm.
someone who is going to put the work in upfront in the onboarding process, so they never have to do those tasks again, and they're going to keep us and our assistant around for the long term. And if that's not the case, then let's point you in a direction where you can still get the help you need, and that is more bespoke to your needs.
Mhm. I just had this argument with a vendor the other day, and he was complaining about he wanted me to send him a check for the work, and it was very small work. I said, look, do you have PayPal, Cash App, whatever? It's going to be a lot speedier. He said, yeah, but I don't want to pay the fee. I said, okay, what I'm paying you is less than $200. So your fee is going to be like $6 at the
Right,
most.
right,
How about I just pay you the fee?
right.
And he says, well, that's not fair to you. I said, for me to go back to my office, write you a check, pop it in the mail, and then have you wait for a week to get, it's not worth the $6. Just, and I said, I think I spent over $25,000 in credit card fees last year,
Right.
and you're arguing over a six. It's time.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, we have to get out of that our mind that you know these little charges. Yeah, they add up, but it's the cost of doing business, and in the world we live in, that time equals money. So for me to waste all that time for you to have a check, it's not worth it.
Right. Right. I completely agree. And you know what we saw with our clients was that COVID really, and everything that the world went through with that, really kind of sharpened everyone's mind around where they were spending their time,
Mhm.
gave them some space to reevaluate. And especially for our higher level clients, what I saw was them doing exactly what you're saying, not being afraid of paying more money to
Mhm.
gain more time back,
Right.
and seeing where they can do that in their businesses. Think of it as a cost of doing business expense,
Mhm.
and trying to enjoy life more. And that's what we saw, and I think it's having a lasting effect.
So, how'd you guys come up with the idea for the book?
As you know, I mean, Stephanie and I were doing the numbers. I think combined, we have something like 44 years of combined experience as being executive assistants. And we were running into a lot of instances with new clients or prospects who had never used an assistant before.
Hmm.
And we wanted to kind of write an instruction manual based around our 5 performance multipliers. I mentioned them earlier. I'll go through them again real quick. Business partner, chief of staff, project manager, assistant slash scheduler, and personal assistant. And those 5 performance multipliers, if you are leveraging them with your support, can hopefully give you back 5 hours in your day. That's where the
Mhm.
29 hours comes from. So we thought that there was an opportunity for us to share through stories and anecdotes and best practices how we view a great relationship between a principal and their assistant that could be leveraged either by people who had never had an assistant before or by someone who has an assistant and wants to make sure they're getting most out of the partnership. And
Mhm.
that's kind of where it came from and why we did it. But I'm not going to shy away from the fact, and you brought it up earlier, that writing a book and putting the time into doing something and having a great product, which we feel we're thrilled with how the book came out,
Mhm.
um, opens doors
Mhm.
and kind of puts people's mind at ease that they know that you actually know what you're talking about.
Mhm.
And that this is coming from hard experience of decades
Mhm.
that we've gathered. And I'm turning 50 this year. We're on that second half of our career. And I never thought I was going to be a career executive assistant, but getting started in entertainment that kind of pushes you down that path.
Mhm.
Um, we find it very gratifying to coach and teach new clients how to leverage our support and work with assistants about opening their eyes that, hey, you've got a trade.
Mhm.
You can take this anywhere in the country. You can work for clients instead of bosses. You can create your own little business under our umbrella or collect clients outside of your relationship with us and really create the life that you want.
Mhm.
And it all goes back to the internet kind of breaking down those geographical boundaries that that was present before. And
Mhm.
so that's kind of we wrote the book to be an instruction manual,
Yeah,
basically.
and I mean every client that I have, I always insist that they write some type of book, whether they get us to assist or they get someone else.
Right.
Their experiences in a book does open up a lot of opportunities they didn't have before, and it gets people to trust you
Yeah.
because now you've put that experience, you put your knowledge, you put everything into a book, and it may not be, a bestseller. It may not, go up Wall Street, and but what it does is that whether they buy it from Amazon or anywhere else, or you give it to them, you're showing them that you are more than just, an average, you know, run of the mill company that, is like everybody else. You are above all that. I mean, and you've dedicated your time to put it in a book.
Yeah.
But
And content is king
yeah,
nowadays.
yeah.
Um, Podcasts, videos, books, blog articles. Um, I was on a podcast the other day, and their whole business is around content producing, and the way they view it is that a book is kind of the pinnacle, and then podcasts are below that. If you can get over 20 episodes, a lot of people start podcasts and burn out. Same thing with blogs. A lot of people start writing a blog posts and burn out.
Oh, I have
It's
thousands of blogs, and I'm like,
yeah,
but
it's
here on the flip side is that I love writing books for people. I love producing podcasts. I love doing their marketing. But we're getting to this point now where is what we're doing contributing to the noise, or is it giving us a respite from the noise? So, all this content that's being blasted out there, you know, is it noise or is it giving people something to think about? And so when I produce stuff, I want to make sure that it's people can relate to it. It's conversational. It's you know kind of giving them pause to reflect, but I don't want to make it cumbersome. I don't want to make it, you know, uh, all my books are between 120 and 150 pages because I want them to be consumed in 2 hours or less.
right. What you were just talking about kind of, there are two kinds of people online. There's the person who um, says they're an online entrepreneur and wants to sell you a course on how to be an entrepreneur and make a ton of money. And then there's the person who says, and I'll throw his name out, Alex Hormozy. I mean, he says, I ran 5 gyms. I created a program based on that knowledge on 5 gyms to uh, a marketing company that launched gyms and sold it for $46 million. And this is my experience, and these are my suggestions on how I work and how I do business. Are you going to trust the A person, or are you going to trust Alex Hormozy?
Mhm.
You're going to trust Alex Hormozy. And so it's the attention. And if you can grab the attention and what you say is based on true experience and is authentic, you'll hold the attention.
Right.
If it's based not on that, it's noise. And then you have to push that out.
Mhm.
And so we are coming, and I'm hearing this a lot, that media, there's a lot of distrust in the media companies, and attention is key. And so newsletters are really hot now. And if you are reading a newsletter and that speaks to you, and you look forward to it popping into your inbox, as opposed to deleting the other ones that come in every day, that attention is very valuable. And hopefully it's done with authenticity and authority and experience.
Yeah, I mean, my whole, I think, um, being of who I am is based on my personality, my sarcastic personality. And although I've written some brilliant books that teach people a lot of great stuff, it wasn't until the Rob Versus books came out in 2019, and now there's seven of them out there. I'm producing two more, and then I do have content for a 10th one. But those are the ones that people can say, "Hey, wow, Rob, I can see you saying this. I can picture myself here." And people laugh and they cry, and I've gotten more comments from those books because they're real. They're based on real stories, my sarcastic stories dealing with scammers, morons, customer service, and whatnot. But people think, wow, and especially lawyers, they've all gone to this Vulcan school of no emotion. And then they go home and they read my book and they're just laughing and laughing, and they hire me because they now know that they can trust me, because they have this person that's kind of a little bit like them but different, that is more vocal, that will help them bring their voice out. And yeah, so now there's an opportunity for those books to go even further, because a pilot episode has been written on a future TV show, but we're just trying to shop it. But with the writer strike and everything going on, I think it'll take some time.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's the strike is unfortunate, but
But
um,
we as entrepreneurs, we need to look at those opportunities. We need to look at, and I know early on in my career, first as the owner of a carpet cleaning business, I looked at money as not a tool. It was more of a crutch. You know, I never had enough, so I couldn't get all these things. So I had to do all the stuff myself, fix the vehicles, fix this, do this, do this, do the marketing. And as I grew, then I was able to afford, or as you said, buy back my time.
yep,
Yeah.
yeah,
And then when I sold the cleaning business, devoted more time to doing what I do, I've discovered that, I'm more productive in the morning. I get so much stuff done. By the afternoon, I can rest or spend time with the family, or, go on vacation. Well, we go to Disney World a lot,
do
and
you?
I made it a habit that I would get up in the morning and for 2 hours work, and then we would hit the parks, and I'd have my phone with me, and there'd be plenty of times where I'll be standing in line for a ride, and a customer would call, "Hey, can you fix my website?" And I'm like, done. I've used that line time to be productive. Just keep on moving.
That brings up, it's funny because I was having this conversation earlier with a potential assistant, and in 2000, 1990, in 99, 2000, 2001, the BlackBerry came the on the scene, if you
Hmm.
will. And Stephanie, working in finance, was given one. And I was in advertising, and ad agencies weren't paying for their assistants to have BlackBerries. Um, and that's kind of when remote work was born,
Hmm.
in terms of being able to handle email and calendaring standing on the sidewalk in Midtown Manhattan outside of a restaurant on a Saturday at 9 p.m. You know, and the working world, the C-suites, I think, got quite a free ride over the 20 years from BlackBerry to the introduction of the iPhone
Hmm.
to broadband internet to where in home, to where the expectation was just that you get an email at 8 o'clock at night, you just answer it.
Hmm.
And it was never codified in any employee manual or handbook, or it was never said you're going to get paid more because you're answering emails on a Sunday. It was just assumed and expected. And frankly, though, I was jealous of my wife having that BlackBerry because I wanted the ability to do what I did standing on the sidewalk in Midtown Manhattan. I thought
Hmm.
that was so cool. And when the iPhone came out, I was one of the first in line because that kind of democratized that ability.
Hmm.
And now here we are after COVID, where there's a lot of grumbling in the C-suites about, why do I have to come up with a hybrid work policy? Or when they're asked in an interview, do you have a remote work policy? What's your hybrid work policy? And they're like, why do we have to answer these questions? And well, you've been getting a free ride for the last 20 years. And so now you finally have to, you know, come to terms with, hey, if we're going to want our employees to answer emails at 9 o'clock at night, we have to give them an incentive to do so.
Hmm.
Because if we don't, they're going to go to a company that allows fully remote work, and we don't want to lose that talent. So it's a really fascinating time right now.
Yeah. But and on I love my phones. I love the ability to be able to connect. The problem is that when I go to try to escape, like go to the mountains where there's no Wi-Fi, there's no signal, there can hardly even get radio. People think you've went to the morgue or something. They're like, Rob, I couldn't reach you for 2 days. And
I
that's
would
the
leverage,
problem.
I don't know if you do or not, but I would leverage an out of office responder and and communicate that
Oh,
way.
I've done that, and they battle each other. It'll just keep, going back. I've had this. I came back one day, and there was 1,000 emails in my phone, just back and forth, telling people that I'd be out of the office for 2 days, and
Yeah.
those would be kicking back too. And I'm like, good Lord.
Yep. No, I hear that too. Well, maybe you do need an assistant to be in your inbox and handling that when you're out, which is possible. So, um, yeah, uh, okay, I have an 8-year-old and a 12-year-old, two boys. Uh, On the one hand, I'm really nervous about how this screen time video game quest sessions are going to affect them. On the other hand, I say they may be billionaires because they're going to see something that we don't
Mhm.
and create a little program, and who knows. So it's a fascinating time that we're in.
Oh yeah, and I think there's a lot of people right now that are scared of AI. I think if you leverage it right, again, it saves you time. It saves you uh, stress, and but people are always going to fear the unknown. They're going to fear, the expense, and to me, it's not an expense. It's an investment on me. Um, not only am I buying back my time, but I'm buying back my anxiety. I'm buying back my stress, and I get to do stuff that I couldn't do before. You know?
Yeah, I'm going to be honest here. For a while, I was sticking my head in the sand about AI because I saw it as a big threat. And I have since pulled my head out of the sand. I am leveraging AI, and I see it now as an opportunity, and an opportunity to for us at our level, at the assistance that we provide, an opportunity to lean into emotional intelligence, a sense of hospitality that we can convey to our clients, and that explaining to our clients, there's no worry, don't fear AI. I'm leveraging it on your behalf
Hmm.
to make myself more efficient, be able to handle more inflow from you. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing our clients not necessarily want to jump into the deep end of the pool of AI,
Hmm.
but they want to know that their work is being is that someone is leveraging AI on their behalf,
Hmm.
if you will. And I do think that hospitality and emotional intelligence and creating that human connection, we are still a ways off from
Hmm.
that not mattering
Oh,
from an AI perspective. So, um, yeah, by the time I'm done and gone, maybe, but for right now, there is still huge value in your assistant leveraging AI on your behalf.
so how do people get a hold of you? Where do they go?
I'm on LinkedIn, Ethan Bull on LinkedIn. So is Stephanie Bull on LinkedIn. We have our website, proassisting.com. There's also a book tab on that website, which tells you about our book and whatnot. It's on all platforms in both audio format and in ebook format. And our website is pretty straightforward. You can book a free consultation. I'm happy to talk about anyone's business and their pain points and what their needs are and what options are out there for them. Um, it's not about hiring pro assisting. I'm not a sales guy and I don't have to make quota. It's more about partnering with the right clients who really align with what we do. And if you don't, I'm going to do everything I can to point you in the right direction in terms of what you do need and what will really move the needle. So that's kind of it. The website, LinkedIn, we have a Twitter page, we have a Facebook page as well, but you can get to all of that through the website.
Yeah, I find that my go-to social network right now is LinkedIn, and I've grown my LinkedIn over the last 2 years by probably an extra 3, 4 thousand followers, and it's just an amazing platform.
Yeah.
Again, we're talking about leveraging our time, and for me, B2B is all on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And that's where I want to be. That's who my clients are. And yeah, Facebook is great, and so is Twitter. But they're for the average person that just wants a joke or wants a meme or wants this. Or LinkedIn is where the true connections are. And if you want to grow your business using social, be on LinkedIn.
Yeah. Agreed.
Now, I want to thank you for your time. This is what makes you an e-hero. And Stephanie, even though she's behind the scenes, you took the time to be on the podcast. So I want to thank you. And for everyone that's listening, please, buy Ethan and Stephanie's book, The 29-Hour Work Day on Amazon. Uh, buy the paperback. For me, I've written all these books. I'm still not a fan of Kindle. I don't enjoy reading on my phone. Yeah, I use my phone a lot, but when I go home, I want a real book to page through. It's just me. So,
Well,
so,
thanks a lot for having me, Rob.
so I basically leverage my time so I can read a real book.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
So, adios, everybody, and we'll see you on the next episode.